गुड मॉर्निंग एंड वेलकम टू गनर शॉट। गनर शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। Well, at the outset, it's great to be back amongst all of you after a gap of 4 days, 5 days, and there's going to be a further gap. For the past 4 days, I was in Pokhran carrying out firing. Very encouraging results we've got on our project, and we have to go through the next round. So that's what I'll say about what I did with my ramjet projectile, which you saw the clip in the beginning. That's the ramjet, right? Uh, we fired from a 155 in Pokhran. I'll not say more at this point of time. Well, like all development processes, you get something, you do lose something there. I mean, you don't achieve something. It's a process, but that will go, but it's going at good pace. What's happened today morning, early morning, right? Sometime at midnight there, uh, evening, late evening, probably there. US carried out a major escalation. It has seized an oil tanker off the Venezuelan coast. It was a sanctioned tanker, right? And a lot of oil has been seized. This is the first time a oil tanker has been seized in that place. It's got major implications, and they're going to be ripples. This is not the first story. And this is a direct consequence of what's been happening off the Venezuelan coast for the past, say, about a month or so, because the US Navy is deployed there. It's deployed in strength. We've heard of, drug traffickers being hit, and it's being questioned in the American Congress and their system. A lot of to and fro. People have been saying, look, is there a regime change going on in Venezuela? Is there will US invade Venezuela? No, I don't think nothing of that kind will happen. But something major is going to happen, and it's happening. You have to recognize it. And USS initiated it with no holds barred, and this has a direct connection with Trump's new corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. That's why when I saw this, actually, to be very honest, in a couple of hours, I have to catch another flight to Devlali, go to School of Artillery, meet people, all that. But that is later day, right? I thought when I saw this, I thought I must discuss this with all of you, implications, and maybe during the course of next 3 to 4 days, I'm going to be regular. I'm being. It'll only be December 15th when I come back regular morning and evening, and I'll make good then. But what's happening now is something which we need to understand, right? Let's get going. So this is the clip which came off, which is on the net, and all news channels are carrying. Have a look. If you can't hear it, let me know. Uh, I have another clip to put up. Yeah. So they, yeah. Sorry, you won't have heard anything because it doesn't have anything really. Okay, there's no sound in it. What you saw, U.S. troopers boarding a oil tanker, right, and taking it over. Naturally, no one will object to it. No one can stand against it. But uh, what's the whole story about? That's the more important thing. And what's the background to this thing, right? Let's see that. Right, this is what came out. I'm going to read it verbatim. I'll analyze it a little later. At 6 a.m. today, that this came out a couple of hours back. U.S. forces boarded the skipper, The skipper is the oil tanker off the Venezuela's coast. 1.1 billion million barrels seized. A huge tanker. Two helicopters, 20 operators, zero resistance. Naturally, how will an oil tanker give resistance to a set of uh, marines or whoever was used? Look, the thing is, this tanker was sanctioned in 2022 for financing, or rather giving help to Hezbollah and uh, Iran's Revolutionary Guard and all this uh, through Gulf businessmen, and it is supposed to be a dark part of the dark fleet. So this is part of the dark fleet as it is emerging at this point of time, right? And so there's a dark fleet operating. We know dark fleets operate. What are dark fleets? Dark fleets are those who switch off their GPS and everything so that their navigation systems are dark to everyone and they can carry on without a thing. And so sanctions, the way to bypass sanctions is through these dark fleets, right? Now, what are the implication of this story? Okay, let's get to this picture. Let's get to this map to understand this. This is Venezuela, right? This is Colombia, and to give you a background, we've been hearing of strikes here. To put it in a summarized manner, in the Gulf of Mexico, here 7 strikes here, 3 strikes here, and there've been strikes here also. And the American Navy is deployed in strength here and here. What is not coming out is it's being deployed off the Colombian coast. In effect, what has it done? It has choked the Panama Canal also. Okay, now this means that look, any oil tanker which is going here is now at risk. That's the thing. And Venezuela being the major oil producer, every oil tanker going out of that is at risk. What does that mean? Every Venezuelan shipping contract, it requires a war clause. It's after all there's insurance, right? Which means the insurance will get hiked. People will not be prepared to go there because, and now it's a kind of a blockade without declaring it as a blockade. US has said this is a dark fleet, we're going in and hitting it. They've said this is against drug trafficking, we're hitting it. What can you do against US there? Who's got the guts to do? Okay. Now, Mere crude, which is comes off Venezuela, already it has gone from doubled. The prices will get doubled. Okay, the market dynamics of oil will change drastically. Now, Venezuela exports 9,21,000 barrels every day, and what is got is 1 point. Okay, now 3 lakhs barrels could just vanish off the radar. So this collateral damage is going to be high. Already Cuba's oil, imports and all have fallen. So it's going to affect this area. There's going to be no dark shipping going on. The hit is not for fentanyl, and all. That's a cover story. That would be part of the thing. But what USA is thinking is, like I showed you in that, is this. Sorry, this they choke this area. Okay, now 15,000 troops are there. There's one of their most modern aircraft carriers are there. That is Gerald R. Ford. So far, 87 people have been killed in 22 strikes, right? And they are getting after Maduro, regime change. A regime change, if it happens, Again, this guy who's written, he says, Shadow Fleet era just hit its breaking point. Not a seizure, it's a demonstration, right? Paper sanctions are over, physical enforcement has begun. Watch the insurance markets, watch China's teapot refineries scramble. The cascade is starting. Now, let me put it across. Okay. What will happen? This area now will get under control of USA. Let's be very clear. Last week, the NSS came out, the new security strategy, the national security strategy of Trump. What did it talk? It talked of the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. In essence, what was it? He says, I'm going to regain the American continent by force. And he's given a warning to China to get out virtually. And this is what is happening. Why is this thing about why Venezuela? Because China has invested into Venezuela. China has invested into Venezuela, building refineries there. Instead of taking crude, they're refining and pushing out. That's not, that's legal. That's legal. You know, refined products. Crude oil is part of the dark fleets. So once you refine, you can do what you want. That's why there are teapot refineries. So the Chinese investment will be hit. If this happens in Venezuela, and they've also, it's just not Venezuela, they're also targeting Colombia. You hit Colombia, you hit Venezuela, see what has happened in the, this coast, yeah, in Panama. Well, something has happened in Panama. Something has happened in Salvador. So all these are getting hit. This is not an isolated case. That's why I quickly put it out, because at 9:30 I have to get going from home. I'll not have much time on all this. So you see this in the overview. Whatever happening in the Panama Canal, whatever's happening on this fentanyl strikes or drug strikes, now this escalation into oil. And this is a start with Venezuela and Colombia, it will spread. What USA is doing very simply is to leverage China out of this area. Now, if China is leveraged out of this area, you know what's going to happen. And there's a logic to this. I mean, I've always maintained that Trump ultimately will get after China. And I said this way back in January when Trump, assumed presidency, that Trump will get after China. He will get after people. He'll clean America or this American continents off. That's his aim. Whether he achieves it or not, we don't know. But that's his aim. He wants the Chinese off his backyard. And we also know that the Chinese have made huge inroads in that area. Okay, what happens to China? We'll talk of it, because what happens to China? What is happening in China is a duality, and that duality is very striking today. Externally, China is going gung ho. Internally, it is collapsing. And this analysis I'll do in a day or two, and this is going to have a huge effect on China. Oil, energy, critical. And then if you say get out of Latin America, where does it leave China? And China started reacting. That's the beauty, right? Okay, this is what China has come today. Just as I did this, I went to South China Morning Post. China says it's pledged aid to Latin America and Caribbean countries with no political strings attached. I'll give you a blank check. So this area, I mean, look at it from a different point of view. The Chinese interests are being hit at a place where China can't react. And America is dada of that place. Some people have given some comments on this daylight robbery, all that. Well, whatever China is doing, America is doing there. China has done it in South China Sea and all that, isn't it? So America is doing it there, in the Gulf of America and all. So USA is squeezing China out. How this will affect China, all that we'll talk later. But this has happened. Simultaneously, China has started something very interesting. And this is where the whole story gets interesting. Okay. China has established, this is from UN, right? China has established a Friends of Global Governance group within the UN thing. So we thought that the global governance initiative, which Xi Jinping, spoke of during the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, was funny. No, things are taking shape. China is actually actively going out. Who are this part of this great global governance friends? I mean, it's very funny. It is, look at it. It is Iran, Cuba, Pakistan, Venezuela, and North Korea. So, interest Venezuela, Cuba. Then they will get to Panama because still they control Panama Canal. Okay. They still have contracts on the Panama Canal, though the Panama government has done what it has to tone that down. So they want to do their global governance. So there's a logic to this. Why is it that China wants to do everything outside, not looking inside? And that I will talk in my next analysis. Because what's happening in China is going to affect us. Let's not have any doubts about it. Okay. And what is this all about? Have a look at what this fellow says. He is the Chinese ambassador to UN, right? And see the heading. It is Group of Friends of Global Governance established at UN headquarters in New York. They've entered the UN system as part of their global governance. So, as Trump is consolidating Latin America and Venezuela and South America and that whole story, China is making a move to do a capture of UN. Okay, so things are going to unfold, and of course we'll see how this oil tanker capture, where it will go, we'll see. But here, what this fellow has to say.
The Group of Friends of Global Governance is an open and inclusive platform. We believe more like-minded countries will join in. We are willing to work with all nations to fully implement the Global Governance Initiative on the United Nations platform, to promote the establishment of a more just and equitable global governance system, to jointly build a community with a shared future for mankind, and create a brighter future for humanity together.
The group has also issued a joint statement emphasizing that its establishment is a significant step in implementing the Global Governance Initiative. The statement calls for jointly upholding the outcomes of the victory in World War II, supporting the role of the United Nations, and coordinating actions on major global governance issues.
Right. So that's what the global governance is all about. Okay, will it succeed? We don't know. I mean, it will not. It will not to the extent that China will not take over the whole world and UN and all that. That is out of the equation. But there is something happening. It's just not that USA is going to run all over the Caribbean and the Venezuela and all that and get away with it. So going ahead, we're going to see things happening. But interesting. What is interesting in this is, this is what I say, you have to read between the lines. Interesting here is these members are Iran, Cuba, Pakistan, Venezuela, and North Korea. Russia is not part of it. Russia has not joined this. Okay. Global governance, Russia doesn't want China to take over global governance. Now, which way will Russia swing? Okay. As You now we have to start looking at what's going to happen in between Ukraine and Russia. After all, just think the global shift which is happening. The global shift which is happening is very interesting. People say by December, I mean by Christmas time, Zelensky will be forced into a ceasefire or whatever deal with Russia, in which it loses Donetsk and Luhansk. Once that happens, eh, it'll fester. That's a different story, but it'll die down. If that happens, Russian interest will shift. It'll shift to the US. That's the thing which Trump is trying with Putin. So there'll be a global shift. And here, this is the first time I'm seeing that Russia and China are probably not on the same page of in this global governance business. Pakistan is. So, what will be the ripple effect of this global governance initiative? Might not be huge thing, but look at the undercurrents. Will USA be happy with what Pakistan is doing to do global governance? Because global governance by China is at the expense of USA, and Pakistan is now, put its leg on both boats. I think it's a matter of time before Asim Munir has to take this call. Those boats will drift, and Asim Munir with his legs, will go like this. And things are happening. We'll discuss Pakistan because a lot of things are happening in Pakistan. In fact, this movie Dhurandhar itself is doing something in Pakistan, which the dynamics of this will happen. Let's be very clear, because I've not seen the movie, but from what I could see on the net, a lot of Pakistanis are seeing it, and they're going to get affected. This is the first time, whether it is by design or default, India's strategic communication is working through this movie. And we get 4-5 more movies out of this, Pakistan will be in a mess. Right? So all this is story is starting. There's something called a C5, which Trump has thought of. It includes India, China, Russia, USA, and I don't know which is the fifth country. Maybe Europe. But Europe won't find favor with Trump if you go by the new national security strategy of Trump's NSS. So there is something happening which we have to be alive to. In all this, let me tell you, in all this, what's happening in India is something we need to understand. That's why I say many things are happening in India which we don't even know. We are enamored by what's happening outside. There are certain things which are changing in India which are, one, irreversible, and second, it is taking you somewhere. I'll talk of it in the next 2-3 days. It might not be able to because I'm going for the artillery reunion. We're going to meet a lot of people and going to do discussions on where artillery is going and all that. I'll be back only on 14th. So maybe on 15th morning onwards, I'll take off in full steam because a lot of things we have missed. And today I just thought I'll do all this and I'll take a few questions, interact, and let you know because I'm very thankful to some of you who said, "So I hope everything is well." Oh, everything is damn well. I'm in the best of health, and that's why I'm doing a lot of traveling. So don't worry. It's a matter of certain priorities are more important than even a podcast. That's the first thing. And the second thing, which I must share with all of you, is that I was so grateful to. I've been so grateful in the past 3 days, 4 days. I met so many of you who come up to me and shaken my hand. I feel proud. I was going in a flight from Chennai to Bangalore, and there was this actuary, Arvind. He was from US. He's come from UK, and he was going back to UK that day. And he said, "Sir, General Shankar, how are you?" I didn't know. I said, "Who are you?" And he then introduced himself to me, and we shook hands. And he said, "Look, I look forward to whatever you speak." I was so grateful to him. And then when I landed up in Bangalore and having a cup of coffee, waiting for my next flight to Jodhpur, another gentleman comes up and walks up and shakes my hand and says, "Look, I'm A.V. Ramesh Chandar," and he was a foreign secretary, one of the foreign secretaries of India, recently retired. And I'll talk of him a little later. And he said, "Look, we look forward to your show, especially the Three Good Generals show." So I was blown off, right? And yesterday I was coming back from Delhi. In Delhi airport, a gentleman who's in the travel industry comes and shakes his hand with me, or shakes my hand, and said, "So it's great to meet you in person." So we sat down and made him come. Let's sit down. And I spoke to him, and we flew to from Delhi to Chennai together. So I'm grateful to all of you, and I look forward to meeting you. I'll be more than happy to meet you one to one, and wherever we meet, please do come. We could have a cup of coffee or whatever. If nothing, we just talk. I'm so grateful. And this is a short video. I'll take on a few questions. If you like this video, do press the like button, subscribe to Gunner Shot, and do join me as members. Don't think this break is intentional. Like I said, it is because I had to go for the Ramjet project firing, which is for me the prime thing these days. And now we're going to see what's happening in the regiment of artillery. So with this, let me get take some questions. Okay. Uh, Hello, sir. Greetings. Can you do a follow-up video on India's new RDI scheme? How effective will it be for our defense startups? So far, I have not seen any results, but I'll get back to you on this. Okay. Mm, yeah. Good morning, General, sir, and fellow viewers. Glad to have you back after a while. Same here, Kiran. I hope you were kept busy, eagerly waiting to hear from you on things. Yeah, like I told you, we've been successful. What we've went set out to do largely has been achieved. Yeah, certain things we can't achieve always. Research is a incremental process. Um, well, it would have been great if we had got 100%, but we got 95%. That's great. But we that 5% last mile connectivity is still on the thing. And Desi Stand says, "Good morning to you. Salute, sir. We missed you. Welcome back. Thanks a lot, Srinivas." Uh, America is basically doing daylight robbery now. Look, that's how international geopolitics goes, isn't it? So expect it. Everyone doesn't behave like India. What has China done so far? Whatever China has done in South China Sea and you know in the Western Pacific, USA is doing there. And China has been trying to push USA out of the Western Pacific. USA is doing it. And you'll see that the pressure USA can exert on its periphery is much more. In any case, USA, if you go back into the last century, has always had a lot of military, influence in its thing. Whether you talk of El Salvador, Honduras, you talk of Cuba, so things will happen. Earlier, Russia used to oppose it, or USSR at that time. Today, China is coming up. Now, China has already said we'll help the Caribbean and the Latin American countries. Let's see where it goes. All this. Okay. Yeah, no audio. That particular clip didn't have audio, so there's no. Don't worry. Yeah, yeah. Good morning. Sorry, missed. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, he says Dark Fleet transponders off. That's it. You don't know the location, who they are, everything. So that's what's been attacked. And USA will say this is legal, right? Trump sanctioning Indian rice shows he's desperate and cannot. Look, again, don't go by what Trump has said, go by what Greer has said. So we'll talk of that. We'll talk of India separately because that today the scene for India is changing very fast. Hmm. Maybe it's a dark fleet, but I do think USA is crossing the limits. See, who defines the limits in all this? Again, for comparison, hasn't China been doing it in South China Sea? Hasn't there been a running fight with the Philippines? They also deployed. Now, hasn't China, isn't China leaning on Japan? China is also doing the same thing. Hasn't China tried to do it with us? Hasn't Pakistan tried its tricks? So, well, you have a guy who's people say that Trump strategy, a lot of people are talking of the Trump national strategy being useless, yeah, and all that. I think he's changed the whole trick. He's changed the paradigm. So you're going to look at a new paradigm. Don't judge anything by old standards. Let's start judging it by the new standards as a new story. Okay. DRDO has developed single crystal blade for helicopter engine. Why the developed SCB tech is not using for crystal blade for Kaveri engine? I'll have to find out. Okay. I mean, to be very honest, I'll have to do a bit research on it. Yeah, this is important. American market is not much, and there's no dumping. So actually, the whole story is wrong. I go with him. What you're bringing out, we're not dumping. And in any case, even after all the tariffs, the American rice consumption has not gone down. Food is fundamental. Rice is fundamental. A lot of people eat basmati. So yeah, thanks a lot, Saika Bhagat. Saika Bhagat, yeah. Thanks a lot. Since you said Saika Bhagat, today we're going to Shirdi. We're going to get darshan of the Guru. Okay, Arsenal Trail, hello. Looks like marine insurance, terrorism, all this will happen. Yeah. They're calling it a down road doctrine, lol. Whatever it is, they're doing it. You look, don't get into the semantics of what it is called. Look at the effects. Whatever is happening, what are the effects? That's look, you know me, I always step back. When you step back, you realize there is a shift happening, and this shift is huge. Huh? Earlier, everyone was focusing on South China Sea, West Pacific, Indo Pacific, Middle East, all that. As Ukraine is dying down, there's a new front opened up there. So our thing goes there. To a large extent, it's happy days for us. China has invested into Latin America and Caribbean hell of a lot. Now everything is at stake. So China has to go there. Plus, what's happening in China? We'll talk of that separately. It's a big topic. I've prepared for it. Hmm. Indian Navy should have at least six aircraft carriers, big ones. Like we don't need it. Okay. So Madura toppling for just pushing China out and reclaiming all of Americas as U.S. territory. Monroe Doctrine or Brazilian encirclement or both. What's the end game? End game is very simple. That's there in the Trump doctrine or the Trump national security strategy. He says Western Hemisphere is mine and America is mine. And this is not something I'm telling now. I spoke of it in January. In January, he's very clear. From day one, he's clear. It's only that he's gone to Middle East, gone to Iran, gone to Pakistan, gone here, gone there, and come back. Yeah, Ladybird Haru, good morning. Thanks a lot. Okay. Waiting for your analysis on China because their behavior, as you rightly said, is completely logarithmic with its internal situation. And what's the internal state? Just wait. Maybe tomorrow, if I get time, I'll do it. Maybe I'll do it in the afternoon sometime, and so that all of you can see. I'm going to be irregular. That's the point, right? For the till 14th. After that, I'll be okay. US getting its training from Somali pirates. Yeah, things haven't changed from San Francisco. Look, they've never changed. Pirates in Somali coast have operated. Did you see in South China Sea what they've done? Russia and China have been operating dark fleets. Iran has been operating dark fleets, right? They've been escaping global rules, or rather flouting it. Look, out in the sea, it's high seas. Everyone is there for himself. Period. Do a series on Russia into ruble pact investment in India. I will do. Will discuss this as part of India. Don't worry. Global friends of global governance looks more like the evil axis. It is. There's no doubt. It's not good for you. So this has implications for India. How you trade with China is very important for us. Okay, we should be very careful now whether you want to trade with China. It's better to get out of China. Look, between China and USA, I'd prefer the USA any day than China. I mean, anyone will say. Unless you're a fool, you'll say, I will go to China. You use China, leverage it, but only that much. China's great power politics was missing its global good. Now China is fixing that with global government. Yeah. Yeah. Look, the day China captures UN, that will be the day the rest of the world will declare the UN has passed its sell by date and be declared. I agree with you. But the fact is, China is doing it. And it will establish a global system, an alternate global system. Everyone who's indebted to China will fall behind China and be subservient to them. So things are, understand what's the thing. Whether it's good, bad, or ugly is not the thing. I'm not here to judge whether it's good or bad. It is bad. I'm here to judge whether it's good or bad for India. That's the more interesting thing. Happy morning, sir. CCP is funded by Democrats of USA. Will CCP act on Taiwan to avenge this quite painful exit from rare earth and crude rich Latin America? CCP and Hira Mandi. Yeah, we'll talk of all this. We'll talk of this. What's happening there in Japan, Taiwan? China is now completely internalized. Think of China. China is now internalized there with Japan. What's happened with Japan? Okay. I mean, and now it is getting a lot of pressure in the Caribbean. How much can China withstand? Right? And internally, this thing. So we'll talk of that. We'll talk of it when we discuss China. That's my next thing. Yeah, Durandar is causing a huge meltdown over. Yeah, it's part of the psychological warfare. I've not seen the movie. I'll see it. Durandar 2 is coming soon. I'm glad it's going to come, and I do hope someone from the ministry tells, from the government of India tells them how to put it. Hope you have a great time at the reunion. I hope so too, because I'm going to meet some of my old mentors, my gurus, and I make it a point to go to the reunion because it happens once in 5 years. Then every time you go, I become older, and my older people have, some of them have become very old, and some of them have, gone to the next world. Like all of us will have one day. So the idea is to go and meet people and share some memories and give some advice to youngsters. Let's see where it goes. I'm looking forward, and of course, go to Shirdi Sai Baba. Seizure of oil tanker is close to piracy or extortion. How does the few remaining sovereign nation treat this diplomatic? They're justifying it. They're saying it's part of the dark fleet. Dark fleet is open. Whether you call it piracy or not, they've enforced it. That's why I said we'll see. There are a lot of things which are not happened. Today, the moment I saw that in the morning, I said let's discuss. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come back. I want to do about China. Is it possible that you share some news on Ramjet? I've told you what I had to tell. More than that, at this point of time, no. Right? It's too early. We just finished the trial. I told you 95% we have succeeded. More than that, we'll have to wait. Yeah, indigenous and integrated air defense system will be powering our capital security. Not a moment too soon. Yeah. Can we consider India's latest talks with Russia as India's future strategy to counter US G1 policy, or is it a temporary adjustment? We'll talk of it when I speak of India. So wait, just wait, because I want to do one major thing on China and one on India, and then we'll take this further. In between, these developments will happen. Can the ramjet artillery shell maneuver? No, it can't. It's a shell, artillery shell. But when we put the ramjet technology in a rocket or a missile, it'll maneuver. Yeah, Russian missiles were recently installed. This might be, might we don't know the calculations. I think USA is doing it in a very calculated manner. Things will go up there. Just watch. Things will happen. Make in India is not turning out as it should. I don't agree with you. We'll discuss this. We'll discuss this. Yeah. Looking forward to see you in person someday. Take care. Yeah, same here. I'm also looking forward to looking you. Meeting all of you. Are you making merchandise? Yes, I'm not making merchandise. I have some designs. If you go to the our channel, you'll have a look at it. This is from through Fourth Wall, which is a company based in US. So if you're abroad, order. If you're in India, don't order. I've not been able to get hold of a guy, and I'm not into all this. It is just that I got a good designer who made some nice designs of Gunner shot, and those Gunner shot designs we put on t-shirts, mugs, and all that. That's there in the end of the thing. You can order directly from Fourth Wall. If you click on any of those, you'll go to the merch site and order. Okay. um, it's it's more for availability. I've not been speaking too much of it because uh, I want to get hold of someone in India to do it. Once that happens, then I'll put it in detail. Hmm. Yeah, hope we will have a regular show. You'll have after 14th. 14th I'll get back. 15th onwards will be regular. Is this a deviation from domestic issues? Yeah, there is a definite. Uh, you know, Trump will try to divert attention away from Epstein and all that. There's no doubt about it. But I think larger. I go back to what Trump started with. Latin America was his focus. Panama, he was the one. He was the first bullet he shot. Then now Venezuela, Caribbean, it was there. I've been speaking of it from January. It's only that he's gone all over the world and come back here. Yeah, Sunil, thanks a lot. Yeah. So as a senior citizen, thanks a lot, Enraj. I'll be grateful to if I can meet you. Indian resident presently watching from Canada. Honored. Okay. Next, waiting for your next conversation with John Helmer. Yeah, actually, John came to India and I couldn't meet him. I couldn't go because I was busy. In fact, I was to do a podcast with John and Brigadier Saigal. I couldn't do it from Jaisalmer. I was too stuck up. India shouldn't bother too much with this tanker. It's more of a local issue and no bearing on India-US relations. Jayant, it's like this. It's got no bearing with India-US relations. There's no doubt about it. On that, I have no doubt. But it's going to have global repercussion. This is not the beginning. You see, this whole thing is incrementally going up. It started with uh, putting down uh, those drug dealers. 87 people have been killed. 20 boats have been capsized and all that. Now it is hitting the oil trade. It will have a global repercussion on oil, which means oil imports into India will go up. Luckily, we have a We are protected from it because of our deal with Russia, right? We are taking Russian crude, not much from Venezuela. Once upon a time, we used to take a hell of a lot from Venezuela. So things will happen. Don't worry. It might turn out to be to our advantage ultimately. Organized crime from Latin America is causing a lot of havoc inside US. This is just a reaction like the 80s war. Maybe. I go with you. What speed? Is it a kinetic energy or loaded with? Oh, it's high explosive. Speed, it's about 2 Mach. Thank I joined late and I'll go back and enjoy. Oh, sure. Right. It's more of a restart for the whole thing. Thanks for the explanation. Yeah, that's how it is. See, no incident has in this kind of an incident, you cannot view it in isolation. You have to look at it in the larger context. That's why I was not prepared to do this. I just saw that news, put together these things, and took off. Yeah, Venezuela will be the straw that broke the camel's back for USA after decades of regime change in South America. Let's see how it goes. I'm not at this point of time. I have no bets on anyone. This is an incident, and I'm giving you my initial analysis and putting things in context because this is a topic which I've not touched so far. So as we go along and as things escalate, we'll talk of it. I didn't deliberately touch this topic so far because I knew one of these days something will happen. And that's the time now that we've started. We'll see how it goes. I'm moved about hearing about Shirdi Baba from you. Baba bless you. Thanks a lot. I hope Baba blesses all of us. I'm planning to be in Chennai in Jan. Yeah, well, let's meet. Let's have a cup of coffee somewhere. No problem. Robin, thanks a lot. I've also missed meeting all of you and discussing with all of you. Hmm. What are the dimensions of the shell? It's the same as a 155 shell. The same thing. There's no difference. Yeah, with this we've done with the show today. Thanks a lot for joining in. Let me see when I can get back next to you live, and maybe tomorrow afternoon or maybe day after because I don't know. Yeah, maybe let's see how it goes. Tomorrow afternoon is where I see we can happen, right? And I'll see if I can get some old friend of mine in Devlali to talk. With this, thanks a lot for joining in. Have a great day. Enjoy yourself. And I do hope Sai Baba helps all of us in our personal and professional capacity and blesses us. And I'll seek his blessings for all of you when I go and to Shirdi today. With this, thank you. Have a great day. Jai Hind and good morning.